Hey, what's going on, guys? Tony here with another episode of Venture Tube, and today we're going to be working on the old boat behind me, specifically our Mega Live transducer mount on our Minn Kota Ulterra trolling motor. I'll be using this in hopes to get rid of this thing. It just gets on my nerves. I don't like it at all. I don't like this. Ugh! So let's dive right into this. Hopefully this works. So here's my setup, guys. It is completely independent of the trolling motor, obviously. It's on its own boom, which has its advantages and disadvantages. One of the disadvantages is just to stow it and deploy it. It's kind of difficult. It's noisy. Kind of see it's got a little bit of a bow to it. Again, it squeaks. It's hard to deploy. It bends. It just hasn't been very reliable. I probably could go with a metal pole. My thoughts behind having a separate boom was I could run spot lock but still pan around, which I know I'm going to miss that, but it was such a pain in the butt to deploy and stow that I ended up not using it as much as I should. So we're getting rid of this guy, and we're going to have it where every time we hit that button to deploy the Minn Kota Ulterra, our Mega Live will be ready to roll and we can pan around using the trolling motor. On bass boats, that's how they do it. And this is a center console, but this is my bass boat, so that's what we're going to do today. Pretty sure this is going to work out. We'll see. Again, this is a Traveler tube mount bracket. It's for LED light bars. It fits from 1 inch all the way up to 2 inch. Fairly heavy, but I don't think it'll have an effect on the motors on the Ulterra, but we will see. This is all experimentation. This should be fairly quick and easy. So what you're going to need for this is a piece of 1 inch PVC. This is a piece I had in the shop. It's about 1 foot long. We may have to shorten it, but 1 inch PVC. So I'm starting by removing the Mega Live transducer from my pole. So each time I had to deploy this guy, I would loosen this up, pick it up, and I put grease on this before, but it just squeaks by design, I guess. Right here, it just wasn't very smooth. Mostly is because of probably my build design, but I don't know. It just gets on my nerves and I don't like it. So we're taking it off. So basically how this is going to work is this bigger side of this mount is going to mount right there on this collar right above the motor housing. And then the smaller side right here is going to hold the piece of 1 inch PVC, which then we'll mount the transducer to. So this is where we're at, guys. Definitely need some longer bolts to fit around this, which I knew that. I just forgot to pick some up at the hardware store. I kind of made my own bolts here. They're hex heads, so I just notched them with a Dremel, and so I could get a flat head so I could actually rotate it, because you can't get a socket on the head of that bolt. Same thing on this side. And I'm obviously going to change these out eventually, but I'll cut these off shorter. Another issue is that I didn't realize with this bracket is that it's threaded in. This is the part that would, hold the ball. Where is the ball? This ball right here, which would screw into the side of your light bar assembly. So it doesn't matter if this spins, because the light bar would prevent it from rotating. But in our situation, we don't need this to be able to spin. It's nice to have this adjustment as far as up and down. We can't have that. So I'm either thinking of JB welding inside the threads, or just getting it in the position I think it should be in, which should be like this, perpendicular to the motor shaft, and just drilling through there and putting a bolt through there so this can't rotate at all. If I have JB weld, I'm going to go that route, or I should say if I have JB quick, I'm going to go that route, because I'm trying to do this fairly quick, no pun intended. But we'll see. I'm kind of worried about drilling into this. Potentially could crack something maybe, I'm not sure. But so far, this fits on there really good. You just need longer bolts. This does kind of move slightly on the shaft. You can see here, there's a slight bit of play right there. This is what holds the belt assembly to deploy and stow the motor. But I don't think that's going to hurt anything. I'm going to address this issue here soon, but first I'm going to notch these corners out a little bit better so it will accommodate this 1 inch PVC. As you can see, it's not really designed to fit that. It's designed to fit that ball. A couple of little issues, but we're getting there. Okay, this piece is done. As you can see, I took out a bit of material, but that should accommodate that 1-inch PVC just perfect. So we're gonna do the same thing to the top piece. So that piece took a little doing, but we got it. I didn't have anything to hold on to, so I was holding it with a pair of channel locks while I was trying to grind it out and without hitting my hand. Need to be doing this on my vise in the shop, but I'm out here working in the backyard on the boat, so be safe, guys, if you're doing this. I have a can of Rustoleum black paint. I'll hit the inside of this before we start assembling the PVC. Well, I figured since I'm going to paint these pieces, might as well prep the PVC and paint it as well. So until I get some stainless steel bolts that are the right size and length, I'm going to just cut that off really quick. So we got it mounted up. We got the transducer parallel with the motor housing. However, because of the collar that we're attaching to, like I showed you earlier, there is a little bit of play there. As you can see, that can move this transducer slightly, which, you know, if you're fishing 50 feet out, that can make quite a difference. I don't know how to remedy that at this point, so I'm just going to move forward and we're going to address this screw lock, because we don't want to be doing that right there. So instead of using the JB weld, I'm just going to drill a hole through this and through the threaded section and just bolt it, so that way it can't do that. I'll probably screw this direction in hopes that that would create less drag when we're moving around. So let's work on that. Okay guys, it is late in the evening now and I have finished this project, I believe. And I'm going to give you a once over and a demonstration and things that I may have changed. Again, you guys seen all this part. We drilled a hole through this, put a bolt through. We got about 12 inches of 1-inch PVC here. We routed out, kind of grinded out this to kind of fit that pipe a little better. And we have our transducer mounted here. Our cable zip tied right here. Just drilled holes through the pipe, put a zip tie on there. And I did not cut this one. You can see where I kind of took a razor blade and tapered it. But I did take a razor blade and cut all of those other cable reliefs off, because they were getting caught when I was stowing the motor or trimming the motor up. They would catch on this, on the front. They were just grabbing stuff. So don't really need them. So took a razor blade, just again very carefully cut those off, wrapped where they were with a little electrical tape just to keep things tidy. And then we move up here. This is the second piece, mounted right up underneath the head. I would say at about 1 o'clock is the angle. And I unscrewed this as far as it would go, so it keeps this cable as far away from this shaft as possible, so when you're stowing and deploying, nothing gets tangled up down here, which I'll show you here in a minute. But again, these cables won't come out and this can't unscrew because the cables are holding it in place. And I think that's actually a good thing, that it swivels to allow for a little play. And of course, there's no zip ties in this. The cable is allowed to go in and out as it needs to. Then I just took those cables and ran it back through here. I thought that could be an issue of it being too tight. It's definitely tighter, but it seems to be working just fine. And then it comes out here, just zip tied that bundle together, and it goes inside the hull of the boat. Besides that, I don't think there's anything that I did to it off camera. It's just time for a demonstration. So here we go. Going to deploy it right now. There we go. As you can see, the cable stays away from the base, which is what we want. It hits the boat a little bit there, but I can keep on turning, and if I was spot locked, I typically don't go much further than this anyway, and you can see I still have plenty of slack here, and with those cable reliefs cut off, nothing's going to catch right here and bind this up. So that seems to work good. We'll go the opposite direction. That's getting pretty tight on this. You can see here, we're good here. We're good down here. No problem. We're good here. And that's about as far as it's gonna go. So look at the bottom. And adding this and that along with the transducer definitely adds some weight. You can tell it's struggling a little bit more when it's stowing, but I think it'll be okay. Let's stow it. There you go. And that's a fairly clean installation. If I run into problems with the cabling, I'll have to do some more cable management and figure that out, but I believe what I have now is going to work. It looks pretty good in my opinion. So guys, that about wraps up this episode. I mean, it's about 50 bucks with tax for this part, but I believe it's gonna work well. And the only other options I seen out there were well over $300. So I think this is a pretty good DIY solution. If you guys found it helpful, make sure to smash that like button. It helps the video and it shares the knowledge amongst other YouTubers. So that's always a good thing. The only thing left to do now is get out on Lake Conroe and do some crappie fishing and test this thing out and see how well it works. But that's gonna be in another video. So make sure to subscribe so you can catch that along with all my other fishing and camping adventures. You guys take care, keep God in your heart and a rod in your hand. Come on.